The Joe Burrow era in Cincinnati has to come to an end. It is officially time to give it up. Questions surrounding the building of the roster, the offensive line, the defense has been horrid. They are tied up in big contracts, paying T. Higgins, paying Jamar Chase, and of course, paying Joe Burrow. So that leaves us with the question, if Joe Burrow is going to be traded, where will he land? Let's dive into it. A big part of why Joe Burrow's had a stunt in his career, if you want to call it, is not only because of the failure of the Bengals to surround him with the pieces and the talent year in, year out necessary, but let's face it, he has a lot of injuries that are just racking up. He had an ACL and an MCL, turf toe. He hurt his wrist. I mean, this guy is getting beat up and beat down because that offensive line cannot give him a second to throw. There has not been a consistent line, even a decently consistent line for the Bengals and Joe Burrow in I don't know how long. And don't even get me started on the defense. That defense is absolutely horrid. This season, they rank most in yards allowed, most points per game allowed, and most yards per play allowed. They cannot stop a nosebleed. Let's keep it real. So it doesn't really matter how good the offense is. It doesn't matter if you have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. It doesn't matter when your defense lets up 40 points a game. You can't ask Joe Burrow to go out there and give you 50 every week to give your team a fighting chance to win the game. That's not happening, and that is not realistic. And while we're on the topic of the defense, the last 3 years, this season, they've ranked 32nd in the NFL in defense. 2024, they ranked 25th, and in 2023, they ranked 31st. This is bottom of the barrel. This is poor roster construction. But like I said earlier, a lot of this has to do with the money that is tied up. Now look, Joe Burrow signed a $275 million extension. Now, as you know, and I know, a lot comes with that. You're basically saying, yeah, pay me. I understand that the roster won't be as good around me, but we have enough to make it happen and make a run. That's just flat out wrong, as we can see. I mean, the salary cap implications are so bad, they cannot bring anybody in currently. And you're talking about losing Trey Hendrickson, your best pass rusher on a defense that's already bottom of the barrel. So now you're really gonna have nothing. You have all this money tied up. You can't bring anybody in or out. So what else are you gonna do besides reset the clock and blow this whole thing up? I feel like they gave a lot and they gave everything during that Super Bowl run that they had, and they fell short. They didn't win the bowl. And since then, the decline is clear as day. This team is not the same. Joe Burrow's not having fun anymore, he says. And it's because he's such a high-level player. He's been so good throughout his life and his career. He is always playing in the big games. He's always playing with a lot on the line. He's always playing with the playoff hopes in the balance. He's always playing in the playoffs. He's always playing in these big games. All his life, that's all he's known. So now you throw him in this situation where they're not competing and they're not making the playoffs anymore. Yeah, it's not going to be fun for a guy who's only used to winning. Now, look, I understand the Bengals will probably do everything in their power to keep Joe Burrow with their franchise. I understand that. But like I said, you have so much money tied up into 3 players that it makes it impossible for you to bring in anybody new. And knowing the history of the Bengals owners, they're historically cheap. That's just not what they do. They don't take big swings. And let's not forget, some of this falls on Joe Burrow. He urged them to pay Jamar. He urged them to pay T. So you know what you signed up for. So I can't put this completely on the Bengals, but a majority of it does fall on them. So let's look at it. Where can Joe Burrow land realistically? Now look, the cost to get Joe Burrow is going to be insane. Let's just put that straight up out there. I think it's north of 3 to 4 first-round picks, no doubt in my mind. He is a surefire hit. You're not really rolling the dice on him besides injury. We've seen what he can do. We know he is that guy. He is a top elite quarterback in the NFL. I don't care what has happened, and I don't care what he's put on film this year. I can't take that at face value because they've been so bad everywhere else. The number one team that comes to my mind when we're talking trades and we're talking who has the capital to make this happen, number one on this list is the New York Jets. Now look, Joe Burrow kind of got a little Namath vibe to him. I could see this happening. They're probably gonna have to give up damn near all 5 of the first round picks they have in these next 2 years. They have a boatload of picks, trading Quinnen Williams, trading Sauce Gardner and getting 2 first rounds from the Colts. They are in desperate need of a franchise QB. They got the running back in Breece Hall. They got a wide receiver one in Garrett Wilson, who I think is amazing. So I do think that this could be a potential landing spot. Now, it is the New York Jets, and their owner, Woody, is not the best to play for. So I have my doubts if Joe Burrow would want to go there himself. Next on the list, another struggling team. You're going to see the theme here. A lot of these teams I'm going to mention are struggling because they don't have a quarterback. The Las Vegas Raiders, they absolutely need a quarterback. Kenny Pickett, Geno Smith, that's not going to cut it. They have been the worst quarterback room in the NFL this year, I think. And look, the Raiders are going to have a high pick. They could potentially trade that. Who knows? But with Brady at the helm in the front office, helping with the day-to-day decisions, I think that this could be a good spot for Joe Burrow to go to. You have the GOAT in your ear, giving you advice as you go. He's in the building. You have full access to him. I think that this could be beneficial. Next, one of the two destinations that I would love to see him. And first is the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, we're talking elite talent on the outside in their receivers with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They got guys. Now, look, JJ McCarthy has not panned out, and you have to question if they're going to stick with him. I personally don't think so. I think KOC wants a guy who can win right now. And like I said, Joe Burrow is surefire. You pair him with that offensive mind in KOC, with that defense that Flores runs. I mean, that could be a Super Bowl contender. You might be able to put together a package. You put in JJ McCarthy. You throw in a couple first-round picks. Who knows? Maybe they take JJ and a lot of picks and maybe another high-level player for Joe Burrow. I think that is a move the Vikings will make, and they will roll the dice on 100%. Next location, I think the Atlanta Falcons are a potential landing spot. Another team who has the weapons, just does not have the quarterback. Michael Penix is injury-riddled. I think that, I don't want to say his career is done, but it's hard for me to believe that he will be a starting quarterback in this league for long, considering how many times he has been injured, especially with the injuries occurring in the same spot. His knees are really messed up. They keep Kyle Pitts. They got Bijan Robinson, Drake London. That could be a deadly, deadly offense. So that's another option in my opinion. Another team is the Arizona Cardinals. You know, they are desperate. They're probably going to clean house as well. They need a new coach, in my opinion. They need the quarterback. You got Marv. You got McBride, who's looking really good. I don't really want to see him go to Arizona, but they're desperate. And I feel like the highest bidder is going to get Joe Burrow. I think that the Bengals need a haul to let him go. So it's really going to be about who's more desperate. Next up on this list, and one I would personally love to see the most out of all of them, would be the Los Angeles Rams. Imagine Joe Burrow in a Sean McVay offense with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua catching passes. Especially with how elite the Rams defense is getting from top to bottom. They are an exceptional franchise, exceptional team. Roster is young. I would love to see that. It would literally be no bridge period for the Rams. You go straight from Matt Stafford to Joe Burrow. Now, this is obviously assuming Matt Stafford's done after this year. I do see him playing one more year, so we will see how that plays out. And last on my list, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are looking, and they have been looking for a quarterback for as long as I can remember. Now, Aaron Rodgers looks good, but you have to think that this will be the last year for the legend himself. I think he will hang it up after this season. I don't know if he wants to go through another long, tough season. And in my opinion, the Steelers are not a Super Bowl contender this year or the next with Aaron Rodgers, so I could see him packing it up. Now, look, I don't think this would be the best spot, and I don't think it's the most realistic considering they are in division, and I promise you Cincinnati will not send him to Pittsburgh unless they give their entire franchise to them in a trade, and I just don't see the Steelers doing that. They're a very conservative, old-school franchise. I don't see that happening, but who knows? This is the Wild West. Times are different. I can see Joe Burrow going to a lot of these places. Now, obviously, I want to see him go to a good franchise. Enough of the bad franchise stuff he's been dealing with. Enough of the suffering, the pain that he's been going through. Get this guy in a good situation. We need to see Joe Burrow in the playoffs every single year. He is that good to me, and I think that he is still a top 5 quarterback, no doubt. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Will Joe Burrow stay with the Bengals, or will he be traded? I will be replying and reading to all. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next video.